Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider podcast. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and here's my co-host with me as well, Flor. Hey, Flor, how are you doing?
Hi, doing well. And you?
Well, super excited because we just wrapped another edition of the Black Friday Cyber Monday events. And wow, like I feel like I lost weight, there was a lot of pressure, a lot of hard work for us as an agency, for our clients. So I'm super excited about this. How did you feel about it?
Same. It was super intense. I'm tired, but very happy with the results. We had some great wins this year.
Yes, exactly. This time of the year brings a lot of wins for brands and us marketers as well. And especially this year, according to Shopify, Shopify merchants achieved a groundbreaking, listen well, $9.3 billion in sales during Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend.
Yeah.
This is just in case for you to have a reference, a 24% increase year over year. So that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And 2023 had been a rough year so far, so this kind of growth is crazy. We had some very good wins ourselves as well with our clients.
Okay, tell me more about it.
One of our clients in the fashion industry, apparel and fashion, had a 60% growth year over year from Black Friday, Cyber Monday of 2022 to this year, which is amazing.
60%?
60%.
Wow.
Yeah, they keep growing. Month over month, they keep growing, and November was crazy.
Yes, there was a lot of work behind it. I know personally that the whole team worked really hard to achieve that. The clients, it was no luck. Everything was planned and was, done with time to achieve this result. But it's great that we did it. So congrats for
Yeah,
the team and
there's
for you.
a lot of strategy behind it, a lot of planning and implementing from the team. So yeah, it was a lot of work, but it paid off.
That's
And also,
awesome.
another one of our clients now in the automotive industry had also a 50% growth year over year.
Okay, that's awesome. Congrats.
Awesome. Yeah. It's a high ticket product, and he's really he has a good client base, but the new clients keep coming, keeps growing, and growth has been amazing as well.
Yes. Fortunately, it was a great event for our clients and also for the rest of the merchants. According to Shopify, the hottest product categories were apparel and fashion and accessories as well, then health and beauty, and last but not least, home and garden in the third place. So it was great. The average order value, of course, it depends on the industry, but it was $108. And one thing that I was surprised to hear, at least myself, is that Shop Pay experienced a 60% increase year over year in sales. And in case you didn't know, according to Shopify's president, the fact that this payment option is present at checkout, only that fact lifts the conversion by over 5%, even if they don't choose that payment method. So it's awesome.
Crazy.
Yes.
But it's good to have different payment options for people.
Yes, and this one is for those not familiar with Shop Pay is or is a wallet. So it has everything like preload, like your credit card, your information. So all you need to do is to click on the Shop Pay button, and it will create a seamless purchase experience for you. So it's an awesome way to buy on Shopify merchants as well. So the
Something,
last two stats, yeah, sorry, you wanted to say something?
yeah, but something that really stood out to me was that this year there were over 17,000 like first sales on Shopify from entrepreneurs, small businesses. It's
That's
really
congrats.
talks about a trend in people starting their own businesses.
Yes. And over 55,000 merchants achieved the highest selling day ever on the platform. And I mean, it makes sense, but it's great that this happened. So I hope everyone reading this, or everyone in this case listening to this, had a great Black Friday and Cyber Monday too. So now we have something else to talk about, because you might be wondering, hey, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and so what now? What do we do? So if you think the year is over, you should think again, because even though the peak season for most D2C brands is indeed over, there are many things that you can leverage before the year ends. Shall we go through them, Flor?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like Black Friday is over, but the holiday season is right here on us.
Yes.
And Christmas is a great time, like for a lot of DTC brands, a lot of presents purchasing, a lot of people like just buying things because of the season. So it's not something to look over.
Exactly. So typically when these events are over, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, many advertisers like pull their spend, so the advertising costs go down typically, and that creates an opportunity for many brands to offer their audience a last chance to get some good deals before the end of the year. But there are some caveats with these. There are some precautions that brands should take as well. So what are a few of them for?
I would say like don't expect December to be the same as November, even if the first few days because of Black Friday, Cyber Monday are still good. Definitely be more cautious about your spend, about your expectations, because sales are going to go down after this big season. There are still opportunities, but it can be tricky.
Yes. So unless this is your first year selling online, you need to you have the last year's and previous year's data to analyze the trend of the orders, of the number of orders per month, right? So if you analyze the last Q4 or the last 2 or 3 Q4s, and you see that December is typically lower than November, I know many brands might want to revert that trend, but sometimes it's a matter of the product category or the product type that you sell, right? So even though you want to keep increasing the order volume or keep the same volume of orders as November, sometimes it's just not going to happen because you add um, more spend on the ads. So I would suggest, as Flor said, to focus on analyzing that and act accordingly. In this case, with the brands we work with, typically reducing the ad spend.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We did have one bad experience one time with a client that wanted to go for more, break the cycle, and just decided with the wrong advice from some other participants that they wanted to spend more on December than they did on November. And it showed that it was not the best decision.
Yes.
They,
And it cost them really high. They
yeah.
lost the entire Q1 to recover from that. And one more thing I wanted to say is that, again, this depends on what you sell, the product type, etc. But you might want to focus on the first half of December, because December is a month, right? But when we talk about December in advertising for e-commerce, we actually refer to the first half of December. And there are a few reasons for that. One, people are away or with their heads in something else in the second half of December for obvious reasons, right? They travel, they meet with family, etc., and they start celebrating Christmas, New Year's. So they are not in the mood of buying things as they were in the first half. And the second one is that if they are buying things for gifts, for Christmas gifts or the holiday gifts, they expect to receive the products before Christmas. And there's a deadline for that. Do you have more or less an estimation of that date?
That's super important. Yeah, it's normally the weekend before Christmas. So this year it would be like the 16th of December. But of course, that depends for every client on their shipping options. Everyone needs to find their date specifically. And you can even have a communication around that. Like, it's good to communicate it. It's good to have a message and let your audience know like what is the last day that they can buy and still receive their product before Christmas if they want to gift it. That's a great strategy for this time of the year. And it also depends. This another client of ours, they are also in fashion. They have a great season in the week between Christmas and New Year's, simply because they sell a lot of party dresses or stuff like that, and they have one-day shipping. So a lot of young people buy clothes for New Year parties or stuff like that. So they can still take advantage of a few days in the last of December, but it's a very close window.
Exactly. And then focusing on getting more sales before the year ends is great. But it's as great as planning. I mean, it's as great to plan the next year. And in order to do that, what we recommend and do for every client we work with is analyze what happened in this case in 2023, because this is as good a time as any for analyzing what happened during the year, right? Even though it's not over, it's almost over, right? So what we would suggest looking at is the following. The top and worst for everything I'm going to say is the top and worst selling month, right? Versus 2022 versus 2021, etc., to identify the seasonalities. Then the top and worst selling products or product categories, depending on the complexity of your business and how many products or product categories you have. It's good to analyze following the Pareto concept, the 80-20 principle. It's great to keep in mind the 20% of products or product categories that brought 80% of our revenue, to know what to keep focusing on next year and what to discard or probably put more focus on. What else, Flor?
Well, your channels, like which channels are bringing you the most value, either for acquisition or for retention, because you need to judge each effort by their goal, of course. And then your main KPI is the things that you want to achieve, your AOV, your CAC, LTV, like all of these things, depending on your business and your goals. It's a great time to be looking at it, making a balance.
Yes. And when analyzing the customer acquisition and retention channels, if you don't have, and even if you do, but let's start with the first one. If you don't have an attribution tool, a tool to actually assess where they get to know you, how each of the channels involved in the buying journey process, in the buying journey, it was involved. That's one thing to understand. But even if you do have an attribution tool, it's important to know how to read it, right? Because some brands might go and look at the last click attribution model, right? And that will cause them to focus only on the last touch, meaning that the last channel the users interacted with before making a purchase will be the one getting the whole credit. And by now, most marketers and brands know that this is not the reality. The people at No Commerce and some other post-purchase surveys actually brought this to light many times, showing that even though these attribution tools show one platform or credit one platform for some purchases, people actually got to know the brand through some other platform, or it was word of mouth, or some other channel that cannot be easily tracked as connected TV, for example.
Yeah, and we know that brands are everywhere, ads are everywhere, so people are seeing your ad and your brand in many places. So it's not only about the last click, it's about all of the funnel, where they saw your ad, which message, how many times. All of these things have an impact in whether they purchase or not and when.
And about the KPIs, how to analyze the each of the KPIs, you will find a lot of them. Flor mentioned a lot, and these are only a few of the many KPIs that exist for an e-commerce brand, right? The AOV, the CAC, the LTV, etc., right? But I would suggest that you avoid, or you try to avoid going crazy and getting lost between all these KPIs, and try to focus on the ones that matter the most, depending on the goals that you have at Flor set. So if you, for example, had a goal to decrease the cost for acquiring new customers, you should focus, of course, on the new customer acquisition cost. If you were trying to increase the AOV, the average order value in the first order, you should focus on analyzing that. If you are focusing on increasing the returning customer rate, you should focus on that. So and following with many reports regarding those topics, right? But I would avoid having a dashboard with 1,000 KPIs, because that will lead nowhere.
Yeah, especially if you didn't have a strategy behind it. If all of your efforts went into bringing in new customers, you can't expect to see a shift in AOV that didn't have something pushing for it. So focus on what you were trying to achieve and what happened with that metric.
Exactly. So the rest is understand how your clients feel when buying from you. Go through the positive and negative reviews to analyze the customer sentiment. Call some VIP customers, survey them, unless you already have a post-purchase survey in which you ask them, I don't know, if they bought for them or for somebody else, why they bought, what they were looking for in the product they bought. They were looking for comfort, they were looking for something else. So what problem they had that they were looking to solve, etc. Right? So understand how your clients feel, what they wanted from you, and what they didn't like about it, so you can improve, of course. And last but not least, identify your top customers and try to find common patterns. You're going to have the VIP customers, the customers who bought only once and never again, and everyone else in the middle. If you can identify what your top customers have in common, and you can then try to replicate that for people in the middle, right? In between the ones who bought once and the VIP.
Yeah, trying to make them into valuable customers, into returning not just once, but constantly returning customers.
Exactly. That will lead to analyzing what they say in the reviews. You can actually call them and ask them a few questions. You can analyze what they say in some post-purchase surveys if you have one. You can analyze what they bought, how often they buy, why you consider them VIPs, right? You need to draw a line at some point and say, hey, everyone, if the average person buys 3 times a year, these people bought 6 times a year, right? Okay, let's take a look. If the average person spends $300 a year, they spend $1,000 a year. Okay, let's take a look at this group, right? So you always want to identify those patterns. And again, if you need to call them, do so. Many successful brands we have interviewed here on this podcast do it. The CEOs many times are the one calling them, and you listen to well. The CEOs many times are the ones, or the founders, calling these people to thank them first, sometimes sending them a gift, and third, to learn, because you want more of those people, right? And you can do the same for the other two. segments as well. Why not? Understand why people buy once and never again. Again, same process. Go through the reviews, post-purchase survey, try to send them some emails, try to call a few of them to analyze common patterns and turn them into the mid segment, the segment in the middle, right? Or try to avoid making those mistakes, if any, so more people avoid entering in those in that segment. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And then what's next? For we analyzed 2023. What's next?
Well, we're always planning ahead, so of course we're already looking into Q1 of 2024. It's
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get started right away if you haven't, and not even Q1, just the whole year. If you are up for it, if it's always better to have a plan and then adjust it than to start working without a North Star.
Many times for marketers and for brands, I think for everyone in every discipline in life, it's tough to start to start off with a blank page. You don't know where to start, what to start forecasting for the future. So do you have any suggestions for this?
Yeah, I think the best way to go about it is ask some questions to yourself, to your client if you're an agency, to your boss if you're a marketer. But you need to ask the right questions to get very specific answers and to be able to go from there. So there are a million things that you can focus on, but first of all, what are your goals? What is the main thing that you want to achieve for your brand, for your business? What happened last year and what do you want to achieve this year?
And please, let's avoid the following answer. I want to sell more. Let's
Yeah.
be specific, because we get that answer. We do quarterly plans with our clients always, and with the clients that are not used to that exercise, they always answer the same thing, right? It's like it's like a
Yeah.
predefined answer. I want to grow the business. I want to sell more. Of course you do, but what specific goals you have for that, right? Because a goal is not a desire. The difference between a goal and a desire is that the goal is specific. I want to achieve X by X date. I want to achieve this outcome by this date. And this outcome is specific. I want to reach $2 million in sales by the end of Q1. That could be a specific goal. Then, of course, we will need to ask many more questions to ourselves, to our team, to our client, to actually understand how we are going to achieve that.
Yeah.
But be specific.
And it needs to be measurable. You need to be able to measure it. If you're specific, but you can measure it, then you're not going to know whether you're close to it or not.
Exactly.
And then once you have your goal in mind, you can keep going. Like, how am I going to achieve it? If you want to sell more, or you want to sell like 2 million, of what? Which products were the best sellers of 2023? Were there any products that people didn't like or didn't buy and you should discontinue? Like all of your product mix. You can take the time and analyze that to know what do you have to keep doing, what do you have to keep producing or creating, and what is not working anymore.
Exactly.
Then,
So, yes,
so
sorry, go ahead.
then you can go on looking at your bottlenecks. What's preventing your business from growing? Do you have enough people working? Do you have enough products, enough marketing? Is there any other blocker that you have that is preventing you from achieving your goals?
Yes. The channels that are helping you the most to grow. Again, in everything that Flor is saying, we should keep in mind the 80-20 principle. It's something that has helped me personally and my business and my clients for a long time, because that way we focus on what matters, and then we choose whether to add a priority that is currently not, or to discard that, right? If a product or product category doesn't fall into that 20% that generates the rest of it, of the 80% in results, we can choose whether to continue or not with that. But at least we are aware that that's happening, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Then in line with what you were saying about understanding how your clients feel, this also works for planning. If you had a lot of feedback from your clients, either positive or negative, it can give you an idea of what you need to incorporate into your brand, into your strategies. What do you need to improve? All of this can come from your current customers that are already communicating with you. Their post-purchase service, reviews, anywhere. Yeah. Then, like, are there any issues that your recurring customers are facing? Like if they keep coming back, but they don't find what they are looking for, or they would like to find something different. And it's also good to reach out to them and find these things out.
Exactly. So, what else? I mean, this list is endless.
Yeah.
The
So many things.
questions, yeah, the specific questions will be the ones that matter to you the most and to your business or to your client if you're an agency, right? But the main thing is that it starts with asking questions. If you plan based on the analysis you did only, then that's a mistake because you don't know whether your client's priorities will be the same. Even if you are the brand, you need to stop and ask yourself questions like, do I keep want to do I still want to keep selling these products? Do I still want to do this way? Am I reaching my target audience in the best way possible? Do I have a great strategy to achieve X? So there are many things, even some non-business related goals, such as, hey, let's grow a community because I don't know, you might say, hey, I have heard many times the power that there's in building a community. So I want to build my community by leveraging my existing email list and create a Facebook group or whatever. You might say, hey, I want to create an ambassadors program to create more loyalty around my VIP customers. I want to start gathering more intel on who my customers are by installing some post-purchase surveys. So the limit is the sky, right? But you need to start trying to be more specific and asking questions about what you want for your business or what your client wants for their business, right? But it's really important that you plan at least Q1. If you want to plan like high level overview of next year, that's awesome. And if you want to zoom in on Q1, that's even better. Okay.
Absolutely.
So a few books that are great for planning, at least for me, I love them. One is Measure What Matters. If I'm not mistaken, is the methodology they uses that Google uses, and I think Intel. So it's great, a great book. Then Traction by Gino Wickman. They proposed the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operative System, that gives you a lot of things to work with. Then 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution, it gives you a different framework than Traction to focus and to work on goals and have your team working toward those goals, because sometimes you might be working toward the goals but not your team. So this is all of these books are great for having everyone on board, the entire organization, whether you're just one or hundreds of people or thousands of people, right? And they give super specific examples of big companies using that. Well, Google is one, Intel is another, and there are many more. So I recommend those 3 books. I will leave them in the show notes. So if you're already there on the DTCinsider.com and found the episode, you will see the book right there in the show notes. If you are not there, feel free to go and get them. It's a really interesting read for everyone, or I think so, because it was really interesting for me and I learned a lot. Or anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's all. A lot
Oh,
of information on this episode.
Yes. So remember, the year is not over. There's a lot of things you can leverage. You can plan Q1. You can plan this time of the year that's left for selling more, and you can keep going and crushing it as I hope you did this Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Everyone, thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.